Welcome to the Regular Joe's Podcast. I'm Dave Pizzani.
I'm Barry Kay.
And I'm Todd Pleasant.
You know when you get in your car and you're with someone and you're both in the front seat, you're driving, you start the car, you're ready to go, and the other person says, wait a second, I got to get out and go to the bathroom? That's just what happened right now. We clapped, we started the show, and then we just went on a 5-minute tangent. But it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it does not rank as pre-show gold or platinum or anything. It's just
a random fact. So
pewter.
I am staying in a house. I'm on vacation, and the point that I just made to these guys, which I discovered the other day. So I'm staying in this old house on the seacoast, and it is the Marsden House. And for some of you, that has an association. It certainly does for me.
It's literally called that?
The Marsden family built the house.
Oh, Jesus.
So when every time I meet somebody, they're like, "Oh, where are you?" I say, "Well, we're in the Marsden. We're in the house over on, at
Where's Mr.
number
what's
18."
the
And they
name?
say, "Oh, the Marsden House," and I'm like, "Yeah." So
what's Mr. somebody?
Exactly. Yes.
What's his name? I don't remember his name.
I don't.
The guy who showed up in a crate.
He showed up in a crate. Yes, exactly.
If a big crate shows up,
there
I'd
is
say
no
get out.
basement in this house that I've found yet.
Yeah,
but there is.
There's a secret. There's definitely a secret door that leads to it.
There is an 800 square foot attic that I've yet to get up to, though. So we'll see.
Be careful.
Yeah, you may want to leave a breadcrumb trail when you go there.
Yeah.
So just for anybody who isn't totally in tune, the Marsden House is a reference to Salem's Lot, right?
Oh yeah, that was the old house on the edge of town that, like I said, was So this particular house is in Massachusetts, but Stephen King moved some things around. We know that. So
Interesting. Okie dokie. So we're going to talk about the Flash movie. We all saw the Flash movie. Came out as we speak. It came out Friday. As you listen, it came out at least a week ago. There's going to be spoilers, people.
Oh, God, yes.
I am saying this now. We'll let you know if you should see this movie before the spoilers. Or, I don't know what that means.
We might, yeah.
But there's no way to not talk about this without spoilers. So
and
I recommend.
I will say few films have been spoiled online as much as this film has.
Not even that, but there's a lot of things that you could be that if you there's a lot of tidbits that you could find out about, and it just ruins.
And I went in clean, but if I had waited another day or two to see it, I don't think I could have gone in clean. Like, there's just no way.
I was reading something that was said it was spoiler free, and it said, and by now everyone knows about the big reveal at the end, and I was like, I didn't want to know there was a big reveal at the end.
I don't even want to know that. But
so
you should. Let's just put it this way: I think you should go see it. It's worth your $15. What great, not great, good, bad, whatever. But let's support movies. So go see it, and then come back. Don't listen to this if you plan on seeing it.
Yes, I'll agree.
And
with
I
that.
think.
Unless you're totally okay with spoilers, in which case I don't understand you. But
I don't get that.
I'll agree
but
you should see it as well.
Yeah, so we'll get to that. So we're going to do that. We're going to go the next chunk of our superhero rankings. I really thought we'd go through this in a day, but
nope.
in a show, which we have not.
Todd and I both knew that was never going to happen.
Not going to happen.
Well, I don't know why. It's more than I thought it was. But anyway, we have it, and we can add new movies to it. The whole idea was, where's the Flash going to be? There are people, as we said last week, like James Gunn, who said it's one of the best superhero movies that's ever been made. He runs the studio who makes it, so we'll get into that, whether we agree or disagree later on. But anyway, so we'll get to probably the middle third of our superhero rankings. Let's do some quick random, and then we'll get into everything else. Barry, did you have something?
I'll just throw one thing out. By the time this show airs, Regal Robots Grail Cup from Indiana Jones will be available for sale.
Goes up on 6/20. That's tomorrow.
It goes up tomorrow
as we
record it, but they're going to keep it up for a week, I believe. I had the fortune of seeing this thing live in person. Fortune and glory of seeing it in person and holding it in my hands And I'll tell you, if you're into Indiana Jones, it's spectacular. So if you're...
spectacular.
It is real and it is spectacular. If you're into that kind of thing and you're on the fence, I'm just telling you now, it's amazing. So you won't be disappointed if you buy one. So I'm just putting it out there.
And there's some other stuff going up too. I think there are 3 Indiana Jones things going up.
Yeah, they've got a magnet of the tablet from...
I think that's cool.
It's really cool. And I like that it's painted to look like stone, unlike most of their Star Wars magnets that are all painted to look like bronze or metallic.
Yes.
This is painted to look like the color of the tablet. It looked really cool. And I think there's some director's chairs and some other things going up. But the big one this time around is the Grail Diary. Not the Grail Diary.
So
the Grail
they're
Cup.
making like props. I mean, we know these are they had the Nurhachi, the urn.
Yeah, and because the urn sold out so fast, they're doing this one differently. They're putting it up for sale for a set period of days because they don't want anybody who wants it has an opportunity to get it, and they'll make as many as they sell in that period of time. And I think that's a great way to do it. So
it's interesting to see how many they'll sell.
Yeah.
I know what were there, 150 Grails or Nurhachis? Or?
I think it was 150 of those. Yeah, I think there'll be a lot more of these Grail Cup because even that's a very esoteric prop. Like everybody knows the Grail. So.
Yeah, cool. Todd, what do you got?
So, the animated series Batman: The Caped Crusader. They've been talking about that for a while. It's been in development for a while. From J.J. Abrams, who you know from being J.J. Abrams, Matt Reeves from The Batman, Bruce Timm from Batman the Animated Series, and Ed Brubaker, who wrote a crap load of good comics, including The Winter Soldier. So the series it's continued to be in development. It's now on Amazon after HBO dropped it, and they bought 2 seasons. So people are talking about it. It sounds like it's going to be really, really interesting. Bruce Timm basically ran Batman the Animated Series, which is the best animated series ever. And this is what he wanted to do, but he couldn't because it's too adult. It was all the stuff that was too adult for that series back in the 90s. And so it definitely, it's for an older audience, an adult audience, and I'm excited. So again, I love me a good Batman story. So it's the Batman the Caped Crusader, and more info soon.
Cool. My random is a shout out, and I don't know this guy at all, and I just came across him on Facebook like less than a week ago, and I think I sent you guys some stuff he posted. So there's this guy named Alex Arnold. He's this mega indie fan. Barry, do you know this guy?
I'm aware of him. Yeah, I'm in one of the Indiana Jones groups on Facebook, and I know he's all over it.
Yeah, so anyway, I saw some of this guy's posts. Anyway, there's been a lot of Indiana Jones posts about the premiere and what's going on at Disney World. With, I think I mentioned last week that they're having the Den of Destiny. All of them happen to be this guy's posts that I was referring to. So anyway, I started following him on Facebook, but he's like this mega indie fan. And apparently Lucasfilm invited him to the premiere. And it's funny, he writes out, he's so excited about indie all the time, and people sometimes give him crap. I applaud this dude. I mean, he's like a regular fan who's so into it that he's got noticed by Lucasfilm. They invited him to premiere. Even James Mangold knew his name from posts that he posts about the movies and stuff, and saw him in the crowd, and he was and said, "Hey, Alex, let's take a picture together." So and
this guy's name is what?
Alex Arnold. I mean, you don't look at Facebook, I don't think, but
I don't.
You should follow him. I want to reach. I'm going to reach out to him. I'd like to get this guy on the show. I think he's like this total fan, totally into it. So much so that Lucasfilm, knows who he is and reached out to him, invited him, and sent him all kinds of stuff. So good for you, Alex.
Maybe we should try to get him on the show when we do our review of the movie.
That would be very cool.
My feeling is he's probably tied up with a lot of stuff around the movie, but we'll see. I don't know. I'll reach out to him.
He is.
I mean, again, I don't know him.
You could also find him at Alex Arnold 88 on Twitter. So
he's
I try not to read Twitter.
Indie mega fan. I know that for sure.
Yeah. But he's in the Regal Robot group also.
Yes.
I've seen him post there.
Yeah,
anyway,
he buys a lot of that
out.
stuff, and he's always posting pictures. So he seems like a good dude.
He seems, I'm happy for you, and it's nice to see when fans are very passionate and it pays off for them. And I think in some way it has for us at different times too. So cool. Any other random?
No.
You know who's awesome? Also, Fanboy Collectibles, IG-12 with the little Grogu in it.
Not just the little Grogu. Did you look at that? This figure is amazing.
There's two versions of it.
Not just because it comes with Grogu in the chest, but it comes with all the accessories for Season 3. Like, literally, it's got accessories for Bo-Katan. It's got the shoulder pauldron and her shield.
Oh, really?
It's got the big blaster that Paz Vizsla was carrying when he was shooting and the blaster turned red. It's got that. It's got the 3 little...
Because there is one that says... and accessories, so it's got all the Season 3 accessories.
It's got 3 little Babu Freaks in it, so that you can put
so
one of the...
it has the pieces to update Bo-Katan?
Yep.
That is really...
It's got all the pieces that you would want for just about every figure for Season 3.
That's a different thing that they've done.
Yeah, and it's got sound in it that it says yes and no.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God.
I was telling Maria about it, and she was like, you need to buy it.
Sons of bitches.
So I may literally have both IG-11 and IG-12 in my collection at some point.
Yeah. All right. We'll have to...
Okay.
Sorry, not that we don't want to buy things with you, but there's just so many things.
This is how Hot Toys sucked me in. I did not need IG-12, but all of a sudden now I do. So
yeah, I may need that too. I got to look at that. What else? Okay, there's X06 Tom Paris. They're really leaning into Voyager. That's up for pre-order. Ton of indie pop. Not ton. There were 3 indie pops that are on the page. I know those are super cool. Guardians of the Galaxy Nebula. That's released. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 Nebula released. We said last week Hot Toys Flash. Do we need to buy it? Tune in later. There'll be spoilers. So check them out. They got everything you need. They got everything we need, obviously. Check them out at the store in Newtown, Connecticut. Check them out online, fanboycollectibles.com. Tell them the regular Joe sent you. Okay.
Okay, now we're out of the ad. Barry, Bo-Katan. Different head sculpt, rooted hair.
Oh, I've actually seen customs that people have done and put rooted hair on it. It looks pretty amazing.
But I'm saying this is a different head sculpt and it's got rooted hair. That is.
Oh,
really
is it?
cool.
I didn't even notice that.
So
it's
and
for
that's
pre-order?
no. I'm saying that's what's in this picture. In the picture with the 2 Bo-Katan accessories.
Does it come with an extra head?
It does not look like it comes with it's not listed, but I'm saying that's not the head on our figure.
I have to take another look at that. I just closed it, but I'm looking now. That is rooted hair. You're right. Ooh, that looks really good.
And she's got a very different facial expression.
We're looking at the Fanboy Collectibles website in case anyone...
Yeah,
it just says it comes with her shoulder pauldron and her shield, but
Isn't that interesting?
That's a great looking
look
head
at that.
sculpt. That's impressive. We'll see if that ever materializes.
Yeah, so there may be another Bo-Katan figure separately.
it does say the Boba Freak. And
it's got 3 of them. It's got 3 of them.
Does it really? Ugh. Now, of course, you need the deluxe one. Not that we don't want it, Troy. Just saying.
It's got a shield and
I
a weapon for Mando.
Okay,
It's
I
got
have
everything.
4. I have 4 Grogus right now. Okay, none are as cool as the mech Grogu. I mean that's so freaking cool.
It's got Paz
the
Vizsla's
Stormtrooper backpack.
It's got
got a mouse droid.
It's got a mouse droid. It's got Paz Vizsla's blaster that's all red, like it's glowing. It's got a pram for Baby Yoda. It's got a mouse droid. It's got a lot of stuff.
This is interesting. I've said for a long time they should sell accessories.
Just accessory packs.
And this is a very interesting way of doing it.
It's like IG-12 is an accessory unto itself.
Yeah. Very interesting.
It's cool. I just love that it says yes and no.
Sneaky SOBs. Yep.
We'll see about that. I may need it.
Yep. Ah, damn it.
Okay. The Flash. There will be spoilers. This is your final warning. There's going to be spoilers. Now, did we give our predictions on the air last week? I have them written down.
We did not. We also never talked about predictions around box office, but did you guys see the box office numbers for this?
No.
Yeah, it's
I
unfortunate.
would say
56
it's
million.
Disappointing. It's 55 million. Black Adam opened at 67.
Right now it's showing 139, but
that's
That's
worldwide.
worldwide. This is U.S. It's 56.
55 is low.
I feel like
Now this could get
I
word
feel
of
like-
mouth.
word of mouth. All right, let's just. I don't know how we ever do this, but do you want to give our numbers up front and then talk about it?
However you want to do it. It's your show,
right.
Dave. You tell us how you want to do it.
It's not my show. It's our show. I say let's give our numbers.
Yeah, whenever we agree, it's our show.
Let's give our numbers up front, and then we can get into it. That sort of sets the tone.
All right. You go first.
Me?
Yeah. You want to do the numbers, you go first.
I think our numbers were what we were hoping it was going to be. What our realistic.
No. That's what I'm saying. We did give what we hoped it would be, and now say what it actually is to you. I will say it. I'm trying to decide between two numbers.
Okay, Barry, what is it for you?
All right,
I'll go
fine.
if you want.
Well, I did. I told you to go, but
I'll go.
far you have not.
I'm giving it an 8, and I could go to an 8.5. I loved it.
Holy shit! Okay, Barry, go.
I really liked it.
I when you told me that you wanted us to give numbers, I wrote down an 8, and I was thinking 8.5.
I am an 8. I'm an 8 right now, and wow. Okay, I'm surprised.
Well, you thought I didn't like?
I thought you were going to be like a 7, and I thought Barry was going to be an 8 or an 8.5.
Well, last week, and I wrote them down. You said you were hoping 8.5. I said 8.5, and Barry said an 8. So now I'm saying 8, potentially 8.5. You are, and Barry.
I'm in the same
I said
place.
8.
Dave, I'm in the same place. I'm 8, potentially 8.
I have to really let it. I only saw it yesterday.
I
so I
am
have to let it
worried
soak in.
about seeing this film a second time because I think there's so much in here that just clicked with me that I was like, God damn, they did that. And
there are things that the element of surprise.
That's what I'm saying. I think when you
great.
strip away that element from this, I don't think it will be as good a movie.
And that's what's nice about it. I mean, and then as we talk about all the movies, the 90s movies, and why some work and why some don't work. I mean, the couple of things why this works. And I do think the thing we just said, it does better than most movies, but it works because leans into the comedy, but not to the point of Thor: Love and Thunder, which was just silliness.
Well, and it's just fun. It's fun movie.
Comedy and fun. And there's feelings. I don't think it's Lila getting killed feelings, but there's definitely. I was choked up with his whole mother thing for sure. So I mean, when movies do those things, like The Guardians and like a bunch of other movies, where you could have fun, be laughing without it being stupid and silly, and then also have some feelings, and be surprised. How often are we surprised in movies?
Okay, so here's how I look at this. And one of the things that this did really well, I didn't care about this character at all. I was in no way invested in this character. And
I liked him in the other movies.
You liked him, but it was, again, I was just like, yeah, okay, he was there. Okay?
His personal baggage got in the way, and I'm glad it transcended that.
And again, it was like, it just, I don't think it was ever used particularly well. They made him kind of a non-hero who occasionally rose to the occasion, but I felt like they did a really good job making a person that you could connect with in here. And in part by making two of them, but I think they did a great job with this movie. Yeah. I think
and the funny thing is, having lived through the Flash TV series, I mean, this is no new story, but it was just done so. Again, it was a 2-hour movie, but the Flash TV series just had so much baggage around it. They dragged this story out over 4 seasons?
Yeah. And this is they've done this as an animated film. They did it. This storyline. They did it in the Flash TV series, and then they went back and they hit it again here. It's probably been the Flashpoint storyline has probably been the best Flash, best modern Flash story, probably the best Flash story in 30 years. And because of that, they just kept going back to the well. I think the things they did differently in here worked really, really well. I think something occurred to me as I was watching this from our discussion last week. Okay, Michael Keaton to this film is Jack Nicholson to Batman '89.
I don't think so.
I don't think he's overacting. But I think he owns just about every scene.
Too much of him either.
I know, but I think he owns
in my opinion.
I think he owns every scene he's in. And
I'm not saying anything good. I think it was handled well.
I do too.
I don't think it was handled well in Batman '89.
I think it was handled well. I also felt like the real push for me to want to see this movie was not so much to see Flash, but to see Michael Keaton as Batman.
Oh, and they knew that because
I was not disappointed with what I got.
Every teaser and trailer had more Batman and less Flash. So,
but they work well together. One didn't overpower the other.
It was perfect. It was perfect.
And I've liked this character because he's the non-hero hero, and he's it's like. You got Batman, he's a badass. You got Superman, who's Superman. You got Wonder Woman. Here's a guy who very reluctantly has his powers, yet isn't brooding like Cyborg if we're digging into all the Justice League characters.
And it's a more, somewhat more realistic challenge for somebody who's young, who's given all this power. And, would he do this thing that everybody's telling him he shouldn't do just because he wants to, fix one little thing? Like, we always say it, like superheroes, they tend to always do the right thing for the right reasons and make the hard choices all the time and suffer as a result. And, this kid just wanted his mom back. And, would he do the wrong thing just because of that desire to have his mom back?
And that is the thing.
Look at the consequences of it.
You think about Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, okay? All of them had basically a lifetime of preparation for the role that they stepped into, whether they chose it or it was thrust on them. Okay? Not the case with this guy. So one day he doesn't have his powers, the next day he does. And as he's discovering what he can do with it, he's thinking about what he can do with it. And
he's, of all the DC, at least all the DC characters in the movies, even Aquaman, they're all like, however messed up they are, they're very confident in their power. This guy is much more like a Marvel character, like a Peter Parker, of someone who anxiety. I'm just saying more. He's not ready to deal with what he has. And again,
that's the whole point with this, is it was kind of thrust upon him, and again,
and I got to say, I mean, we know that Ezra Miller had the issues and whatever, but this guy, this person, whatever, he played two roles for the majority of this movie. You got to give them credit.
And in very different ways, so you never were confused by who was who and what they,
But also, in the same scene almost entirely throughout this thing.
Yeah.
Okay, there's very few scenes where both of them, and it's easy to forget that. There were very few scenes where they weren't interacting with each other throughout.
Yeah.
Well, and there was a lot made of, people complaining about the effects. I actually really liked that when they were in the Speed Force, the visuals looked different. And when they weren't in the Speed Force, I thought all the CG and visuals looked very, very photorealistic, and
the director said that was definitely a choice.
I agree. I think it worked, but I was surprised to see how many people were complaining about that the effects weren't as good as they should be. I'm like, no, that was a stylistic decision to do it that way.
Yeah, of course. I mean, what kind of thing is that? Yeah. Everyone looked like a wax figure, kind of, because it was sort of looking at a different universe through this crazy lens.
Yeah. There were a few CGI things that weren't perfect, I will say, in the regular time, but I also think it was shot in daylight, and it's a lot harder than one of the cheats that the DC movies have done is they've relied heavy on fights at night in the dark, or in at dusk or whatnot, or at dawn in the case of Wonder Woman. And this was like in bright light, and so you saw everything, and they needed to have shadows on everything, and I thought they did a really good job of it. I really did. There was a few,
they used in the beginning scene you got Batman in. I love the gray and blue uniform he's got, which is awesome. But they made good use of Ben Affleck. They made Wonder Woman made an appearance. It's just, and that was action packed. That was awesome.
I actually really liked in the opening scene how he started. Well, I guess it wasn't the opening scene, but it's early before when they start to show the title, and then he gets distracted and the title goes away.
That was great.
And then it's like he's got to refocus. And I don't remember in any previous incarnation of Flash that he sort of had that specific motion and the way he set himself up.
Yeah. This was a kind of comical, exaggerated thing.
I love when he loses his powers and then he just does it. And
he tries to run through the wall and looks so goofy. I mean, it's just like...
I mean, we're all over the place, but there's so many fun things in this movie.
Yes.
I mean...
Yeah. I will say the inside the Speed Force, we are skipping around, but at the end, okay,
Are we jumping into deep spoilers here? Because we did say we would say it.
No, we said spoilers.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, no. There is a sustained tribute to the history of DC comic characters and film in there, embedded in there, and it's both films that were made and films that weren't made, and I see, okay, Christopher Reeve is not a reach, okay. Putting Helen Slater in there, that was a reach. Okay, putting George Reeve.
Why they chose who they chose?
Putting George Reeve in there was a reach, and then creating a '50s analog Flash for the George Reeve era was freaking brilliant.
Okay, but the greatest part of that sequence was the unmade Nicolas Cage.
That's what I'm saying. I said
Superman movie, and having him fight the giant robot spider.
The spider that the freaking producer needed to have in that movie.
I was dying.
Superman Lives. Yeah, we got to
dying.
See. Just
that was surprising, funny, and just like that was just.
That might have been my favorite moment of the whole
movie.
The
majority of people seeing that have had to be like, "What the hell?"
Most people don't know.
No, they have no idea.
Like Pam was like, "What does that mean?"
I had to explain it to my kids too, but just the fact that I've seen Kevin Smith talk about this at length, and because he wrote that script.
Yeah.
And the producer had to have a giant spider in there.
Producer was forcing him to put the final battle had to be a robot giant spider, and he wouldn't do it.
Yep.
It's just so good.
I know we jumped all
I love
over,
that I love that the George Reeves universe was black and white and not colorized. Okay. Yeah. All the different things like that we got to see.
And we saw Adam West.
We saw Adam West.
Yeah.
But why no Brandon Routh and why no? There were a lot of Supermans we didn't see. They just picked some. I guess that's...
Yeah, but I think they picked kind of the first, the ultimate, and then the. But again, like I said, I think that was really, they could have just leaned heavy into the Snyderverse stuff. Shown a peek at the Matt Reeves Batman or something like that. I think going into the Heritage was a good thing.
And it just shows that all those can exist.
And you guys know, I think it's fair to say I'm more of a fan of the Snyderverse than either of you guys are. But I really did like how this connected. So Todd and I texted a little bit after we saw it. I loved how it connected so closely to the Snyderverse. I mean, I get that this character was introduced there, but they really didn't have to do that. And bringing the Zod stuff back in and really pulling it back around to Man of Steel like the way they did, I loved it. And Michael Shannon seemed like he didn't know what he was doing and where he was.
Which was fine.
So I was a little, I don't know. I wasn't sure to begin with about bringing in Kara Zor-El, who I guess I think we should say Superwoman, because I don't think that's a girl. But
she's 27. I looked her up.
That's what I'm saying. Okay. I think that was brilliant. I think if that had been if we'd injected Superman into that story at that point and done exactly the same thing with Superman that we did they did with that character, it would have totally distracted from the story. I think it augmented it.
And they couldn't because they, at the time of making it, they didn't
right,
know
but
they
had
were
they
going
done
to
had
be
they
a new
done
Superman.
the Superman in that universe was imprisoned by the Russians and so on and so forth.
It makes sense though, and she was good, and it worked, and the good, even though she's dead, she could show up somewhere else.
She could show up somewhere.
I loved the fact that she just assumed that Kal-El never made it to Earth and that he was somewhere, and then that revealed that they were like, no, he didn't survive. We killed him as a baby. Like I thought it was great.
Yeah, not sure why Zod was asking for him on the TV. In that he knew where he was.
Did he say that?
He did.
Did he say?
He did. He called him Kal-El.
I wonder, did they reuse footage from that? Or
I think they
had
probably
Shannon. They could have had him redo
but
the
it was
dialogue.
it could also have been like part of his strategy to draw her out.
Well, to draw her out because she knew he protected
Right.
him.
Yeah. So, Anyways, but using him, they didn't have to establish a villain. They had this ready-made villain. It worked,
and it wasn't a big part of the story.
It wasn't a big part of the story, and I actually really like the idea that in this universe they lose, and there was nothing they could do in this universe they were going to lose. And
that had to happen for all the other things to unfold.
Yep. So,
it was so refreshing to have this whole Flashpoint thing wrapped up in a matter of an hour, as opposed to just like a zillion seasons.
Right. Yeah.
It just was so drawn out.
I really liked. Again, I think a lot of what they did in this was brilliant. I think, and there's some mess here too. There's some things that you can't think too hard about because it just doesn't work. But having the two versions of him and him, it gave you a way to explain every single thing that would have been hard to explain otherwise. But the fact that he had this person who was just trailing behind him throughout, that he could explain, every little thing.
But it also allowed
made us
them
not stop and think.
They also allowed the other guy to have turned into whatever they call the anti-Flash guy and die so that the regular Flash can live.
Well, and it also worked because as much as the Flash, the primary Flash, still has to learn, this guy had so much more to learn, and that made it easier for him to make bad decisions and to keep doing that and to get himself into a loop. Because he didn't even have the experience that Barry had from the...
He didn't have the
really
grounding from the other
whole
team members.
The whole
he didn't
Flashpoint
have
thing.
Yes. No, there's it. Like I said,
as soon as I saw him with the thing through his arm,
you knew
even
what
though
it was.
I'm like, oh,
that
makes sense.
I knew it at that point. We haven't really talked much about Michael Keaton yet, but I mean, he was perfect.
Oh,
I thought he was
awesome.
perfect.
It was awesome.
It's his best Batman performance ever.
It was one of his top three.
And as much as I
was surprised that he was like a recluse. I didn't think. We obviously saw from the commercials and stuff that he was Batman, but
it doesn't.
Yeah,
that doesn't work for Christian Bale. It doesn't work for a bunch of other Batman. But remember, that's who this guy. He was eccentric, but he was also like it was all about being Batman. And
at first, I thought it was going to be a different Batman. And then they'd have to go someplace else.
Oh, okay.
That's what I thought at first, because you weren't seeing his face.
So this guy's entire life everything was about being Batman, and Bruce Wayne was just a persona that he adopted, enabling him to be Batman. Okay, and when there was no need for Batman, and there was no Alfred, he just pretty much hung around. He tried painting. He just and then when they needed Batman again, he came into himself again because that's it makes perfect sense for that version of Batman.
I loved seeing the Batcave. I loved seeing the '89 Batmobile again, and I loved that they didn't use it. I loved that it was the Batplane, or the Batwing, or whatever.
And the Batplane in the original was like used for 10 minutes, and then it exploded or something.
Yeah. And
So I just that when he pulled the sheet off the Batmobile, oh, I love that. I've always loved that.
I do like how they did
favorite
not
Batmobile.
like focus on it, but it was sort of, you did see the bat plane in the moon, just without it being too heavy-handed.
Yeah.
It was so well done. I mean, it was a love letter to
It truly
Batman.
was, and it was
really
like, and even Wayne Manor, looking like Wayne Manor, even though I don't think we ever saw it in daylight. The everything in the cave being like rusty and decrepit, but still kind of works.
But yet, as soon as he threw the switch, the computers were booted up and ready to
Oh
go.
yeah, of course. No, it's that those parts were great.
This movie clicked every box I needed it to click. It really did.
I think it did too. I don't think there was any. You look at movies and like there's. The first act, second act, the third act dragged a little. I didn't feel like there was any part that sort of just went the wrong way.
Yeah. It's easy to forget that Zod and his soldiers, every single one of them has the same abilities that Superman have.
Yeah.
Okay? You can't defeat them. I mean, yeah. No,
and I liked how it took, a whole bunch of time before Superwoman or whatever we want to call her got her full power back.
Yeah.
She needed to get recharged by the sun and all that. I thought it was great. I actually really liked her in that role. I'm not familiar with that actress at all. I looked her up. Apparently, she's been on soap operas and stuff. But,
I wonder if we'll see her again.
She was good.
They actually said they had to cut some of that scene out because they couldn't keep their R rating, or they pushed them into an R rating. Because
I wonder why.
Oh, because it was so violent.
Oh, okay. Violence. Okay.
Yeah. So they said that they had to really, really tone down that scene because she just kind of went in a tear, and yeah, but it worked. I liked how her character changed. I liked how her character, I like her entire perspective on humanity are people that took her and put her in a cave, in a ball. Yeah. And her coming back and just asking that one question, why did you help me? And he was the perfect person to answer that question, because there was never any hesitation on his part that they had to take her, even knowing that, not suspecting that she was going to be who she was. And, yeah.
All right. No, did you love the final reveal? Because I loved it.
I loved it. You know me. I kind of like him. I mean,
I could tell right away the voice was different, but I was waiting to see.
I wish I had a rewind button because I needed to soak that in a little more. So
I will say, I have always liked time travel stories with consequences, and I guess multiverse stories with consequences kind of fall in the same way. The idea of his getting back and everything working out exactly the way he wanted it to a degree, and it having no consequences was hard. But the fact that he still screwed up the universe, was just great. And I did like that.
Did anyone see that coming?
Oh God,
I didn't.
You knew it the second they weren't showing his face. When the car pulled up and you saw the foot, you're like, oh God, this isn't going to be him. And I'm cycling through who this could be, and obviously,
did you
Michael
guess
Keaton,
Clooney? Because I did not guess.
Did
Clooney.
not guess Clooney. Michael Keaton.
So obviously, if you've not seen the movie and you're still listening to this, so at the end, Batman, who was Ben Affleck, is now George Clooney.
Yes.
And I gotta say, I give so much credit to the filmmakers and to Clooney. Clooney was just on something and said, I'm the one who killed Batman.
Yes. Oh yeah.
And
no,
it's not his fault.
Yeah. No, it's
Well,
not.
and apparently they only shot that scene in January.
Yeah.
Like they had a different ending, and
that was the best.
It was an ending with, I think they said it had Aquaman and Wonder Woman in it, and they reshot. They decided that didn't work, and they reshot it and added Clooney in January.
Do that.
They did not make this movie when they started making this movie. They did not know that the Snyderverse was being folded up and put in a box. So I think this was part of a plan. There was going to be a Flash 2. They were going to keep going. This was.
I hope there is another Flash.
This is really. I mean, Aquaman, no pun intended, is going to tank. This was Aquaman should have come out before this because this was the closing the door on that universe. And I think that's fine.
I mean, I hope that the word of mouth gets people to see this.
Yeah, I mean the clickbait sites are already calling this a flop based on its opening weekend.
That's such bullshit. And meanwhile, it's got like
55 million for a movie
95%.
like this is not good, Dave.
Particularly on a budget of 200 to 220 million.
It deserves better than this.
Yeah.
It does.
Really...
But that's why I looked up what Black Adam made just to see, and Black Adam did better than this opening weekend. Now that's got The Rock in it, and he's got a bigger audience. And let's face it, they've promoted this thing, but they did not promote it. I mean, the lead actor was not in any of the promotion, which we understand why. But that's got to hurt. Not.
Oh, and there's also like
not being able to do the talk show circuit and do all that stuff hurt it. So.
There's also a lot of negative attached to that, and so
it's a shame. I hope people go see it. I mean,
but they knew enough that they knew they had such a strong movie that they couldn't just shelve this thing.
Oh, they also had a ton of money. Honestly, I believe part of the reason they trashed Batgirl was they wanted to keep Michael Keaton for this film, and Michael Keaton was in that film as a retired Batman. And I think they realized they had something, and that was total. If they had gone ahead with the direct to streaming Batgirl movie, which needed a lot of work, they said that novelty is gone. So, seeing him back in the Batsuit, and even like whoever the stuntman was who was fighting like it was emulating the style from those Batman movies. It was
they did a great job. The same clickbaity websites that said that this was a flop are also saying that Aquaman is a disaster and that it's unwatchable.
No, please. How would they know? They know nothing.
Yeah, no.
I agree, but I enjoyed the first Aquaman. We'll get to that when we get to our rankings.
It was fine.
But I am not sure I need a sequel.
When's that come out?
Soon.
Is that Christmas? I'll look that up while we wrap this up.
It's funny in the universe going for. Let's say there is a Flash 2. For whatever reason, is Clooney Batman going forward now?
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying this is it. I mean,
he is so Bruce Wayne though.
It's perfect. It's the Aquaman movie is going to be the equivalent of the Black Widow movie. It's going to be like a separate story that just takes place somewhere in this. But this was the door closing on the Snyderverse. We're not going to see these characters
December
again.
20th.
Like I said, other than that's what I'm saying.
That's a shame because they did a good job,
and
I
honestly,
think they really put this character.
I know you liked it,
made
Dave,
it valuable.
But the 30 seconds that Clooney was in this movie, he felt more like Bruce Wayne than the entire movie he was in as Batman.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Though I actually say I think he made a much better Bruce Wayne than he made Batman, but of an era. Seeing Wonder Woman in this, I was like, I'm glad they did that, but that is the last time we're going to see her in that role.
Unless she shows up in Aquaman.
Yeah. Which, what I was thinking about afterwards? I was thinking if they had made that an Aquaman / Wonder Woman team up movie, okay, that could have had potential. And I just have no interest in that movie whatsoever. So
I love seeing Tamora Morrison show up in this movie too as Aquaman's dad.
Yes, yeah,
that was great when he's calling him looking first. Just like,
I know, it's a shame. Like, what? So I don't know what they're going. I mean, I don't know all the movies So they're going to do a Superman. They sort of have the Batman. Are they not going to lean in? They got Blue Beetle. They got. I guess are they not gonna? They're not going to be a Wonder Woman.
That will be interesting to see in Blue Beetle what references there are to. I wonder if they're going to make references to the other characters but not show them. I think they do reference Batman. They say Batman, he's a fascist. Okay, is that Ben Affleck Batman who's a fascist? Is it George Clooney Batman who's a fascist? Or is it Robert Pattinson's?
I saw the trailer for Blue Beetle in front of this movie, and I remember liking the trailer a lot when I saw it when it first hit. And it's not that I didn't like it this time, but I'm just less excited about it now than I was when I first saw the trailer.
Well,
it just feels like an Iron Man ripoff almost.
No, it's more Spider-Man than Iron Man.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the suit reminds me of Iron Man.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's more the kid being all of a sudden getting powers and not knowing how to handle it, and so it's actually kind of a fusion of those two things, I think. If somebody give an Iron Man suit to Peter Parker, this is kind of
it looks interesting. I'll just see it. I mean, but anyway, I mean, could this be the best DC movie? Could be.
Wait. Snyderverse movie or DC movie?
I'm looking at my numbers.
Okay.
I
think. Well, we got a ways to get to it, but there are better DC movies than this.
My only problem with saying it's the best one is I don't think it works in a vacuum on its own without some of the setup from the other Snyderverse movies, which I've also liked. And as we'll see, my ratings aren't going to be quite as low as yours are on those movies. But
I don't think
it's definitely in the top 5 for me.
Oh, DC movies? Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and I also think, like I said, I do not think this film's going to hold up as well, because I think so much of what I really liked about this movie was kind of emotional gut appeal to. No, you're not going to have that. And again, this is, I think they do an extremely good job of both being a tribute to the history of superhero films in here, and also kind of thumbing their nose at it. Okay, in some ways, it's kind of like, this is. It's also a little silly, and we're going to point that out, that it's a little silly, but I liked it. I liked it a lot, and okay. I'm just gonna say, because I texted this to Barry. Okay, I don't get how, knowing that Barry's father was at the store before Barry came down and found him standing over his wife's stabbed body, is an alibi.
You don't know.
I don't get that. I don't get how it changes anything whatsoever. I mean, they can't know within. They can't fix a cause of death within 10 minutes, or a time of death within 10 minutes. I mean, if Barry comes downstairs and finds his father standing over his mother's body,
could have just done it.
That's what I'm saying. Right. It doesn't make a difference whether or not he was buying a can of tomatoes. 20 minutes earlier.
It's not like it happened while he was at the store and
definitively
they
can prove that.
Right.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying?
It's weak. That's to me, that's the biggest
kill
hole
his
in the movie.
mother. In real, I mean,
it's
been so convoluted.
It's varied, and it's been a random criminal. It's been Professor Zoom.
All over
it was the Reverse Flash. Was his mother ever in any of the continuity ever Hispanic before? Because
no.
That surprised me just because
she was a blonde. He's a blonde guy. Okay, he's got yellow hair. Okay, so no, that wasn't the case before. But again, and also remember, the Barry's mother being murdered thing is a fairly modern thing. That's only a few decades old. That hasn't been his backstory from the 50s when the 60s when he was created. It was a modern incarnation, because at some point everyone has to be an orphan, I guess, in order to be a superhero. So,
sure.
I
mean, and they said, they said, and that, even Batman was like, my pain has made me the person I am.
Exactly. And that was, I actually thought that was a good.
Well, both Batmen told him that, actually, in this movie, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Ben Affleck told him
Clooney won't
that.
say that. Clooney was like, are you kidding? I was banging like 3 chicks at a time. Life is good.
I had Elle McPherson. Okay.
Not to mention that WWE girl.
Yeah. So, it's and probably let's face it, was probably getting on with Batgirl. So, it's like I said, I think it's great for what it it definitely exceeded my expectations. I know a lot of people are disappointed with it. I'm not. And
are they though? Are people disappointed who have seen it, or are they just the talk of box office and all this bullshit?
No, it's got like a low Rotten Tomatoes score.
No, it doesn't. It has a low critics.
Okay,
that's what I'm saying. In the 90s for people.
Is it really? That's good because it's like 66 overall.
Yeah, that's critics who are still.
I also think this is one of those movies where we'll probably never know the full story, but I think this movie was made and remade multiple and re-edited.
Yeah,
because they say there's a 4-hour cut of this too. Like,
yeah, I'm sure. It's 89. It's 89 on right now. Oh wait a minute, no, wrong one. Sorry.
85.
85. Yeah. Honestly, I don't care what anybody else thinks. I
don't care either.
I love what I love about this movie. And I'll say one more thing here. Okay. The making a Flash costume out of a Batman costume.
That was awesome.
Was awesome.
Love that.
It's just like I used our colors.
That would be a cool prop to own.
Yeah.
Well, and you were talking about the Hot Toys figure. I don't feel like I need to own the Flash figure after this movie, but I would almost consider buying if they do the Flash made out of the Batman costume. That one I might buy.
I could have the Flash.
I am going to get the old Batman figure.
See, if I got Flash, I'd feel like I need Batman and I need Supergirl, and it just starts a whole thing for me.
I may get the Flash. Just because it would be.
It's a great looking figure. I mean, it really does look fantastic.
It would be a nice 2-figure set. Would be Superwoman and the other Flash, second Flash too. That would be kind of cool. I'm definitely going to get the old Batman, and I will display it with the hood off.
Didn't they just order 89 Batman? Didn't they re-release 89
They
Batman?
did, but it's different than this, and that's
I ordered it, I think.
Did you? I actually have the Batman Returns Batman because I like the logo better, and this is more that style. But like I said, I'll make room for him. So.
Okay, you know what we think. If you're listening, you haven't seen it, go see it. It's a lot of fun. It's worth seeing. It's better than the last bunch of Marvel movies.
It's one of the most fun superhero movies, and one of the most fun times I've had in a movie theater in a long time. It just is a lot of fun.
I will totally agree with that.
Without being stupid.
Yeah.
What I don't get is how was a $200 million Thor movie not get how to do this? And this movie does. I just don't get it.
Especially when that same director made the previous Thor movie, which was so good.
The thing is, it
makes no sense.
Is you totally felt going in before this movie the multiverse concept was played out, and they handled it really well.
Yeah, it wasn't too heavy-handed.
Yeah. Well, and when you think about it, I mean, this movie was essentially made, 3 years ago?
Right.
Almost 4 years ago?
Yep.
So it's taken a while to get to the theaters.
Good for them, then. Okay, now we're going to go to the middle part of our superhero rankings. Hopefully we won't drag this out too long. We left off, and I'll turn it over to you, Todd, to go through to go through the movies.
We left off with The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Yes.
2008
and
The
then
Dark Knight.
We're going to enter the official Marvel
MCU.
Cinematic Universe.
But not yet. We start off with the Incredible Hulk. Okay,
that is part of the official Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's the first
retroactively. It's not a Marvel Studios film. Okay, it was.
But it was
absorbed. It was absorbed, and they made a decision before that movie was released.
Resistance is futile, Todd. It's been assimilated.
They made a move before the decision was released to create linkage between the two films.
In the Marvel Studios book that's right there, this and Thor were being done by the same people, produced. It's just anyway.
Yeah. So,
what do you give it?
Hang on a second. I just lost it. Okay. I gave it 6.5.
Wow. I gave it a 6. I feel like it may be better than that. I think I can see a 6.5. It's enjoyable. I mean,
it is hard not to put this against what came before.
That was the worst.
And I felt
if you compare it to what came before, sure. But if you take it on its own merits, I gave it a 5.
Really? I enjoyed it.
No, I think
it was on this weekend, and I watched about 25 minutes of it, and it's not great.
Yeah, I like it.
It is a
between
hard
6 and a 5.
It's a hard subject to do a film on, and I actually think he was a good Bruce Banner, a very different Bruce Banner. He was more a tortured kind of, but I don't think he would have worked in the Avengers. It would not have.
No.
So that was a good switch, but I enjoy the movie for what it is. So, yep. So then we go to a lesser known film from 2008 called Iron Man.
It's a 9.
Some claim. What?
It's a 9.
Okay.
9. I think I had it as a 9. I think I've put it as a 9.5 because of its importance, and it's so you can always watch it.
As I explained last week, I changed some rankings because I didn't have 10s. I didn't believe we had a perfect film yet. This is a perfect film. It's a 10, and I think if you look at everything that's come before it, this is the epoch of Jon Favreau's brilliance in the Marvel Universe. It's just, I've said before, they should, every day, the Marvel people should back up a dump truck full of money to his house and dump it on his lawn.
I think they do.
I think they do.
It's there's not a wasted scene in this film, and this was such an incredible gamble. Okay, he made this film without production insurance because he wanted Robert Downey Jr. and he couldn't get insurance on it. He shot this film he shot all of Robert Downey Jr.'s scenes early, so that if he crashed and burned, they could still make basically another film where they hand the suit off to Rhodey and finish the film. It was they had like 3 plans to make this to complete this movie. And they, it's brilliant. So
it was also on this weekend, and I caught about an hour of it, and
you have it on DVD.
I know.
Blu-ray,
I have the 4K Blu-ray. I have this Disney Plus.
I will say,
and you're watching it with commercials.
This film, like Raiders of the Lost Ark, you can jump in anywhere and jump out anywhere. Once you know the film, there's so many watchable subsections. I've watched the return to the terrorist stronghold scene probably 60 times by itself. When he shows up with the Mark III, it's so awesome. And the breakout scene.
I needed to shut it off. I needed to go, but I couldn't do it until my favorite line of dialogue in the whole movie popped up.
This is not the worst thing you caught me doing.
No, not that. It's the Tony Stark did it with a pile of scraps in a cave.
Yeah.
Jebediah.
As he's talking to
when the guy's like, I can't build it. It's not
Christmas
possible. It's so good.
Yeah.
So good.
My favorite line is and always will be, this is not the worst thing you've caught me doing. It's perfect. So
all right, we need to move forward.
Moving on.
We do. After that, Watchmen from 2009.
I'll let Barry go. I've seen it once
Dave's
and I
not a
don't
fan.
care. So
Dave's not a fan. You may disagree with this, Todd. I also give this a 9. I love this movie.
Do you really?
I love the source material, and I love how faithful they were to the source material. They made changes where they needed to make them, and I love Watchmen. I love every version of it. The longer, the better. I love the Black Pearl part of it, or whatever that part's called, like the animated stuff that they release as a separate DVD.
Yep.
I put it all together. I love Watchmen.
I have never gotten it above an 8.5. I did bump it up because my scale changed a little bit, but I agree. I love the film, and I think the casting is absolutely brilliant. So
if I didn't love the source material so much, I probably wouldn't love the movie so much. But because
it is
probably my favorite work of fiction ever. I do.
It is incredibly faithful until it's not, but there are scenes in this thing that were just. I mean, it was basically that graphic novel is the storyboard for this film for so much of this film. So,
and if you're familiar with the panels in the graphic novel, it's just so cool when you see them literally translate one
Yep,
to,
right
to
there.
film.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're never going to get through.
No, I know, we're
27
working
of
on it.
these.
Okay.
Moving on.
It'll pick up. X-Men Origins Wolverine.
10. No. A 6.
Yeah, I gave it a 6 also.
I get a 5.5.
Okay. Iron Man 2. We know who hates this movie. What do you give it, Todd?
I gave it 5.5.
I gave it a 6.5.
Dave and I are right on with each other. I gave it a 6.5
I don't have a
also.
problem with this movie as much as
I don't either. It's not my favorite, clearly not my favorite of the Iron Man movies or of the Marvel series, but I don't dislike it that much.
Okay. You're both wrong. The director apologized to Dave and I in person for this film. So when we saw
Favreau.
It was Favreau. When we saw him speak at the Tribeca, he apologized for this movie. Okay.
I don't think it's that bad.
It's anyways.
Okay.
Just
moving
quick.
on.
Is this? No, I know the answer to my question, so forget it. I was going to say, is this the lowest rank you have of a Marvel movie? But it's not.
Oh God, no,
yeah,
not even
God,
close.
no.
Not even close.
Yeah, okay.
Not nowadays.
Nope.
This is interesting. The next one's going to be interesting because I think we disagree on this one too.
Captain America: The First Avenger.
Barry, what do you give it?
8.
I give it a 7.5.
I give it an 8.5. I just rewatched it on the plane to
It's so
Europe.
good. So good.
So
It definitely
slow
gets better
getting going.
as you watch
Just
it.
so slow getting going.
No, I don't think so at all.
But like Iron Man, it sets up so much of what's to come in the MCU.
Yeah.
And that is, it is, you know what it is, Barry? It is a near perfect prologue. Okay? But I wish they'd made this movie without knowing they were going to make an Avengers film, without whatever, like they did Iron Man. I wish this got the same thing Iron Man had, where it was like they could have totally focused on the character and who they wanted to define him as and not be an on-ramp. And that's what this film is. It's an extended on-ramp. But
He's got a lot
good.
of baggage with this movie.
I do. I gave it a 7.5. That's not bad. Okay.
It's better than that.
20.
Green Lantern, just say the number and let's move
Okay,
on.
3.
3.
4.5.
Take Blake Lively out of it.
4.
Okay. Take Ryan Reynolds out of it.
You know what? I had to go back and rewatch the trailer for it because I honestly don't remember a damn thing about the movie, and
It's very convoluted.
It is.
It's not great.
It's not great.
It's probably better than a 3, but I don't know. Okay, moving on. Todd?
Thor, 2011.
Thor seems to get better with watching.
I rewatched that
also.
this weekend too.
I have a 7 here. I could maybe be higher than that.
I give it a 7.5.
I could agree with that.
I was reaching to go to 7. I think it's a 6.5, but I gave it a 7.
I
some good
rewatched
stuff
it this
in there.
weekend, and it's even better than I remember it being.
I've seen that so many times.
It is
I watched
hard
it a lot.
not to, if you're going back and looking at these things, it's hard not to look at the totality of the Thor films. It's improved by the totality of the Thor films because two other ones are so poor.
But it also, I do. There's some of these movies that the more times you watch them, the better. And maybe that is because there's stuff, new information that's coming at you. But
you forget this is
not
the
every
introduction
movie
of
is that
Cliff
way.
Barton. It's there's a lot of
Oh, yeah,
stuff.
there's
that's
a lot of
set-
seeds
the
there,
whole
but it-
relationship with Loki
Yeah.
and Thor is set
but
up
like
in here.
Iron Man 2 does not get better as you watch
No,
it.
it doesn't. It does not.
I think Captain America does. I think Thor does.
I think
Anyway.
once you get past your initial expectations, both Iron Man and Thor get better. I'll agree with that.
And it may be Natalie Portman's best performance.
It's very nuanced. Okay.
It is a
Very
nuanced
much.
performance. She just
Okay.
looks really, really cute in that movie.
Totally does. Also from 2011, kind of a sleeper, X-Men First Class.
I give that an
Fantastic
8.5.
movie.
I think that's
I
the
also
best
did.
of a best of the X-Men movies.
And I also give it an 8.5.
It's on a much lower budget than the other films.
It's nice that they went back in the past.
It's just great. It's just great.
Yeah.
2012, Amazing Spider-Man.
Doesn't matter. 6.
6.
I went 6.5.
I'm not a fan of Andrew Garfield in these
yeah.
movies at all.
Do you remember your girl Bryce is Gwen Stacy?
Yeah.
And she looks great. Yes, I do remember
As a
that.
blonde?
Yeah.
Yeah, not really Gwen Stacy. But anyways, then we go to let's see, 2012, The Avengers.
Let's hear it, Todd.
9.5.
We know you love this movie.
9.5.
9.5. Huh. I give that an 8.5. That whole Chitaran stuff drags for me.
I'm actually amazed at how in sync you and I are on this, Dave. I also gave it an 8.5. And I love the movie. I love the movie.
I love it too, and it's important, but there is stuff that it's a little. The whole where are they coming from? Loki's the bad guy. There's a little weirdness to it. Not that it's not great, but it's not.
And
it's
I had to
of some other movies.
I had to give myself a little bit of breathing room between, like, there are better movies than this in the Marvel, pantheon. And if I gave everything a 9.5, then there's not a lot of room. So I felt like I needed to leave myself some room to show how much better I think certain movies are.
This is the first successful superhero team-up film, and it works on and from every single level. They treated every single character respectful. They gave them something to do. It works out. There's so many iconic scenes in that. Yes, they had to do the generic villain thing because you couldn't devote half the film to establishing a villain and still have still give everybody their due.
That's my issue with it. It's not perfect because the villain is a little lacking.
But that's where Thor comes in because they introduced Loki already. So
exactly, but there's so many great things in there. Puny God. I mean, oh God, it's just so much. I'm always angry. The moment when Cap steps forward and starts just takes charge, tells everybody what to do. The spin around scene there, and the fact that nobody questions why Black Widow's there or Hawkeye. What are these people doing here? Let's just use it. I love the stuff on the helicarrier. Flying monkeys. I know that. No, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. 2012, The Dark Knight Rises.
That is my least favorite of the trilogy.
Yep.
And I give it a 7.5.
I also gave it a 7.5. It's like our lists are very, very similar.
I gave it an 8. It's got a lot of issues, but it's still I like that version of Catwoman. I like how they wrapped up the story. I liked it's a little.
I see it as an 8, but
it's got a little too much Spider-Man 3 in it at times. It's like they tried to cram too much into this movie. And there's a few parts you definitely can't think about, but it closes out a very solid trilogy. And I don't think there's a more solid trilogy in superhero films.
I disagree. Spider-Man. It's not a trilogy. Though.
It's not. And that's just it. So
in theory.
Okay. Yeah. Could be, but it's not yet.
Speaking of trilogies.
Iron Man 3.
I gave it a 7.
I gave it a 7 also. I don't love that movie.
I gave it a 7.5. I do like that movie.
I thought you liked it more than that.
Oh, I do. I mean, it's just
something
can't rationalize.
with
I can't
it.
rationalize why. I always say I like. There's 43 reasons why I like that film, and I do like it, but I can't make the case for it being a better movie than it is. It's certainly worlds better than Iron Man 2.
I would have given it a 7.5, but it's got a Verizon Fios commercial right in the middle of it, which I just can't abide by.
It's there's no Go back.
It's a little.
Go back and rewatch it. There's some good shit in there.
I've watched that a number of times.
I love the interaction with the kid. I love all the suits in the big the fight at the end. Anyways, it is what it is. Okay, 2013, Man of Steel. Barry, what do you got on that?
7.
I have a 5.5.
But
wait,
really?
The regular one or the director's cut?
The regular one. There is no director's cut of Man of Steel.
I don't care. 5.5.
I got a 6.5 on that. I didn't think we'd be that close, Barry. I thought you liked it much better than I did.
I like it, but again, I have to keep it in perspective. I really like it, and I like it as
really,
much or more than most Snyderverse movies, but
the whole destruction, the constant destruction,
and that is the thing that if you juxtapose this movie against Avengers, okay, you can't watch, and I've said this many times, you cannot watch The Man of Steel without having 9/11 flashbacks, and you don't get that from Avengers at all. And they were really smart to shoot down instead of from down up. You know, you don't have the shots of people running away from collapsing buildings that you have in Man of Steel. You get pushed out of that movie.
Forget
really,
superhero
really
movies, just sci-fi movies in general, disaster movies. We have seen so many movies where they destroy cities. Like, and I understand in the time that we saw this, but 10 years. 11 years past that, I don't have
but
as
this
much.
one's just the way they did it.
The images are intentionally
it.
evocative of that, and you will not convince me otherwise. They shot that like the news footage of people sprinting out of clouds of dust, okay, because they thought that was gonna like click and people were gonna think the magnitude of this, and it did completely the reverse. And when Whedon shot the Avengers, he shot, like I said, it was really, really smart to shoot a lot of people in buildings and some things down, but he didn't do that ground level terror of people running away.
Yeah, I get that. That's one. It's a significant portion of the movie. That's one portion of the movie. The rest of the movie, the story of it, the way that I personally do
and
like
all those long shots of an action figure in a string shooting up from a building in the distance. It's just I don't think it
Okay, moving on.
Yes,
I'm
exactly.
gonna be the time judge.
Okay,
here.
Thor: Dark World.
6.
6. Go on. Okay,
Moving
doesn't
on.
mean more than that. The Wolverine.
7.5.
I also gave it a 7.5.
I gave it a 7.5, and I will say
It's solid. It's very
it is
solid.
very solid. It holds up, and this movie benefits by virtue of the previous one being a stinking pile of crap.
Speaking of stinking piles of crap, Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Amazing Spider-Man
5.
2.
5. I also gave it a 5.
I gave it a 5.5.
I'm just so amazed at how in sync we are, Dave.
It's okay. Then we get to a more obscure film from 2014, Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
That's my 10. That, to me, is a perfect movie.
That's my first 10 as well.
Okay, I also give that a 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't think you would.
Really? No,
I don't know.
That is the best Marvel.
You gave Iron Man a 10.
I gave Iron Man a 10. That is
Okay,
the best Marvel film. And I've said this for a while. Winter Soldier is the best Marvel film, and Iron Man's my favorite film. It doesn't. Your favorite doesn't have to be the best, but it's perfect. It is absolutely perfect.
And it's smaller.
It
doesn't have
in
to
some
be
ways,
gigantic.
It's in ways. And they grabbed the conspiracy theory elements and injected them into a Cap story, and it was brilliantly done, brilliantly executed. There's absolutely unforgettable scenes in that movie. Guardians of the Galaxy 2014.
It's a 9.5 for me. And that movie gets better every time you see it.
Yep.
I'm talking about lines. There are lines that come out of Rocket that
it's fantastic. It's also a
need to
9.5 for me. It caps out at 9.5. It's been less than that before, but it does get better every time you see it.
And I pushed it up to a 9. I love it. It's just, to me, it doesn't make it as high on my list as Winter Soldier.
2014 X-Men: Days of Future Past.
I give it an 8.5.
That's a 7.5. So, would you say 7.5?
I said 8.5.
Barry, you said
Frozen.
I really like Days of Future Past. What about you, Todd?
Did you hear what he said? You're siloning.
You're freezing.
You're
I'm
siloning.
freezing. Okay.
One more time. One more time. You gave it a what?
You want my rating?
We didn't
hear it.
Oh, okay. I gave it an 8.5. I really like it.
Okay.
Huh.
Okay. I give that an 8, and I had a hard time choosing between 8.5. I think it took the steaming pile of crap that it was building off of, which was X-Men 3, and I think it redeemed it incredibly well.
Well, Days of Future Past too.
No, it was coming off
no.
of
I mean, I'm
First
sorry.
Class.
No, but X-Men First Class is mostly
is totally separate.
Is totally separate from that. They divorced it to the point of recasting. Everybody.
Yeah,
and this then fused the bad with the good and eliminated the really icky. And
I just watched it again last night. It is pretty good.
Yeah.
Or the other day.
Yeah.
I could be convinced to move that up. What did I give it?
You said 7.5.
I can give it 8.
I think it's there's good bones there.
I'm gonna change it. There you go.
Okay. 2015 Ant-Man.
8.
Solid 8s across the board. Love it.
2015 Avengers Age of Ultron.
I also give it an 8.
I give that a 9. I don't know.
Really?
I could give it I feel that's too high though.
I think it is too high, but that's up to
too.
you. I gave it an 8 also, and it is.
I felt like I gave it a 9 because you guys. I thought you were going to be higher.
No,
I don't know why.
I think it's hugely inferior to the Avengers, and there's a lot in there that doesn't work, but there's a lot that does. Yeah, it's okay. And are we stopping with the next one, or we keep going?
No, we're
going.
We're going to Justice League.
Okay, that's right. Okay,
can stomach it.
Okay, 2015 Fantastic Four.
2. This is horrible.
I also gave it a 2.
I gave it a 3.5. Wow.
I
didn't
even
even
worth talking about.
It's not worth talking about. Okay, 2016 Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice.
I don't love that. I gave it a 5.
I give it a 5, and shoot me for saying it. The director's cut's a 7.
I thought you loved this movie.
I don't love the original cut of it. I love the director's cut of it.
Okay.
Would you give it, Todd?
I gave it a 5.5. I can't believe I'm higher than both of you on this. Introduction to Wonder Woman. Okay. I loved getting to see the Dark Knight Returns armor. Okay, which was cool.
There's so much bad with
but
it.
There's
that whole
so much
weird
Martha.
Scene with the...
And I don't think either of you have ever watched the director's cut, right? Like, I'm
never
not
will.
suggesting you do, but I am telling you it is a far superior version of that movie.
Barry, you know what? I always watch.
I'm so sick of Snyder.
I always watch the director's cuts of the Marvel's films. Oh wait, there are no director's cuts of the Marvel films because even if they suck, they don't try to make them over and convince you that they don't.
I'm not defending that. I get that. I get it. But the reality is that after they realized they screwed up, they made a better version, and I watched it, and I liked it a lot more.
I know. And
I think Snyder's a pain in the ass.
How many times have they cut Blade Runner, Todd?
What's that? Yeah,
How many
and
times
you know what?
have
The
they cut Blade Runner?
first film was terrific.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I don't think they needed to do that.
Yeah. So
I'm not, just for everybody listening, I'm not trying to compare Batman v Superman to Blade Runner. That was not my intention there.
Saying, it's like, yes, and they probably will never stop. But you know, I don't know. I don't think you can retroactively improve a film. I really don't. You can, and
they did. It's been done. Yeah. Alien 3 was better. The director's cut of Alien 3 was a watchable movie. The theatrical cut wasn't. Director's cut of The Abyss, much better than the theatrical cut of The Abyss.
God, okay.
Oh God, I'll never see either of those films.
That's a whole other show.
Oh my God.
Director's cut. Let's move on.
Once you've stolen 2 hours from my life, you don't get more. Okay, that's it. That's my final word.
We'll cover that again in about 7 movies.
Okay. Let's see. Yes. So, 2016 Captain America: Civil War.
Avengers 4, you mean?
3.5, yeah.
I think I gave it an 8.5. I could be more like an 8. I don't love... There's things about it I'm not comfortable with, but it's still good.
I gave it an 8.5 as well.
I gave it a 9. I think that movie improves every time I see it. I love the airport scene. I think it's brilliant. I also think that where I've said sometimes a film is improved by other films, this needs to be almost twice the score of Batman versus Superman, because they tried to do the same thing and they earned it and owned it, whereas the other didn't. So
I also, part of me is like, I don't know. I don't like that it's sort of the downfall of the Avengers, you know?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
and I feel like the fight between
part of the story,
the
but...
fight between Tony and Captain America at the end goes on too long. I like to believe that those two characters would have sorted that out without completely destroying the Avengers over.
It's a little unrealistic.
Yeah.
I disagree. I feel that it's totally true. They're both totally true to who they are, and they continue to be that way throughout. And I love Tony Stark, but he's an arrogant jerk, and he's never going to see the other guy's perspective.
And he does finally sort of redeem himself later in the series. So
yeah.
you know.
So,
okay, moving on.
Somewhat.
Deadpool.
I gave Deadpool an 8. I really, really like this film.
I give it
a 7.
It's
7.5.
It is hard to gauge this against anything.
It's not. It doesn't fit.
There's no benchmarks. There really are not.
Fun though, and that goes back to like what we were saying about Flash. It's a fun movie. So
yeah, I agree. Doctor Strange.
I give
7.5.
7.5.
I gave it a 7.5.
There you go.
Okay.
Solid.
Suicide Squad. Not to be confused
with
the Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad.
4.
I gave
4.
it a 3.
Okay. I also gave it a 4. So, no need to explain why. Let's
Director's
just
cut
say
does not save that one.
Let's just say if you're putting together a covert mission team from super criminals, okay, there is no point to adding a delusional woman with a homicidal ex-boyfriend whose only ability is to hit things with a big hammer. Okay. So, next is 2016 X-Men Apocalypse. Its title says it all.
I have a 4, and I don't even think it deserves that.
Nope, it doesn't.
I gave it a 4.
3.
I gave it a 4
3.
also. Yep. Yeah. 2017 Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
I gave that an 8. I know you, Todd, you're probably higher. I had it at an 8.5, and I lowered it. It's just I have issues with it.
I also gave it an 8, Dave.
We all three gave it an 8.
Oh, really? I thought you would
that film is. I think that film has gotten better with subsequent watchings. It's hard. You've got to adjust because it's not Guardians of the Galaxy, and if you try to take it as the same film, it's a smaller film. It's an in between film. I like it for what it is, but it's not Guardians. And
okay, I'm not wrong. Then. Good.
No, I definitely. That's where I've settled in on it, but I'm happy with an 8 on that too. So
yeah. 8's a good score.
It's a good score.
And
we're
then
we're stopping with the next
is where
movie.
we're stopping. We're wrapping it up here. 2017, okay. Justice League.
Which one?
Justice League.
I will say
Justice League.
I give it a 4.5, and
really?
I give the Snyder Cut a 6.
I was going to say we can talk about the Snyder Cut when it came out. I'll shoehorn that in later because
I gave it a 6.5. I don't know if it seems high, and if I liked the Snyder Cut less, it was a waste of time.
I gave it a 5.5, and I'm
lowering mine to a 6.
And I give it 5.5, and I would probably we'll talk about the Snyder Cut later because it was made later, and that's where we're stopping.
Okay, there you go. That's a lot. You got a lot of episode here.
A lot of show tonight.
Now that we've gone through this, and we said we all 8.5. Yeah, does that change your thoughts on the Flash or your numbers now that you've given it some context just immediately?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, yeah, I don't know. It's an 8 leaning to an 8.5. I'm not sure.
Todd and I were texting Saturday after I saw it, and I said I was still in the afterglow of it but I still feel the same way I did a couple days later. So
it's solid.
I think it's solid. I think there's issues there too. I think it's a brilliant mess. I think there's a lot there, a lot going on. They threw a lot in that.
But they did it so much better than they've done other movies.
And they have. And I also think it could have gone so worse. I think there's a lot in that pot, a lot stirring around in there, but they carried it off.
But they
very well.
They sort of pulled it off. Not like even Justice League, despite
I agree.
Wonder Woman in the brown leather pants.
Yep.
It's just...
Oh, wait a minute. Forgot
messy.
about that. Justice League might have gone up. But anyways, it's like I said, I could be perfectly happy with this being the closing chapter of the Snyderverse. And
I don't even like using that term. Well, screw that guy.
But it's that era. It's the end of that era, effectively.
Okay. Last thing we're going to do, just because we said we'd do a little indie stuff every time. And indie, as you listen to this, indie comes out in a week. So we all have our tickets. We'll just do a quick, since we're into this movie ranking that no one but us likes, and I don't even know if we like it, we're going to give our numbers for the reluctantly four indie films, and maybe a commentary on what we hope to get out of the fifth one. Is that fair enough?
Yeah.
Right, I'll go. Do you want to go in? I'll just give
them
all?
Do one. And
okay. Raiders, 10.
Raiders, 10.
10.
One of the perfect films. One of the handful of perfect films. Temple of Doom. Oh, I guess. Pre-chicken skewer 7. Since I own the chicken skewer 8. No, it's a 7.
It's a 7.
It's a 7.
Last Crusade. I think we were all the same. 9.
I give it an 8.
Okay.
Crystal Skull. 5.
6.
4. I hate that movie. I hate that movie so much. What's redeemable about that film, Barry? Okay, I know open the door, but I'm just saying, what can you not wait to see again in that film?
It's so bad.
It's torture.
I think even
It's
5
torture.
is too much.
5 to me is the bar I set anything at that I've either only ever watched once and never really felt compelled to see again, but I might be willing to see again. I've seen Crystal Skull multiple times. I don't hate it.
Have you really?
I don't
watched
hate it.
Only,
I don't like it.
It's horrible.
I've watched it twice. I will say this. So I was going to ask you guys this, and sorry to extend this, but what is your line on you'll see a film again? So for me, it's probably 5.5. At 5.5, I would probably say maybe I'll give it another try. Above 7, I'll definitely watch it again. But
I think it depends on the movie. I would not watch this again.
You would have
it's so bad. I'm changing my number to a 4.
I'm telling you, I have a hard time thinking of anything in that movie that I'm at all nostalgic about or feel good about or would want to see again. Pick that one scene.
The whole convoluted mess.
Just pick the one
with the
scene.
2 different guys
that excites you in that film, and it doesn't.
I'm not going to defend my ranking for you.
Oh
or
no,
any
no,
other
no!
man.
I'm not. No, I'm
Let
not
me ask
saying
you
that,
this, Barry.
I'm saying what
before we fought about this movie, what would your number have been? Because I think you liked it more.
No, I don't think I did. I mean, it's my least favorite by far of all these movies. I don't have this utter hatred for it that you guys have.
Okay.
Oh, it's so bad.
The worst episode of the Indiana Jones Chronicles, and I would have to go back and figure out what it is better than this film.
I disagree.
I don't think that's true.
I haven't watched those. I think the best episode is probably still worse than this. It does not hold up. Do yourself a favor and watch it.
I'm going to leave it in my head.
I also, look, for what it's worth, Todd, and I know you very well, and I love you like a brother, you get certain things stuck in your head, and it is immovable. So
I agree with that.
But Dave, you're going to tell me that I'm inflexible? Okay.
I agree with that, but this isn't one of those times.
no, I think that there are things that if you hate something the first time you see it, you are.
You're
it is
desperate.
destined.
You're just going back.
We've watched this, and we've watched this together.
You're going back to the
horrible.
motionless picture, Barry. I'm not going to give ground on that.
That's better than you think it is.
But there is stuff here that I have actually I've crept up a little bit over time. That film, like I said, all the other films have scenes in there that are memorable and worth revisiting. And there's not a one in that film. And I don't think you could intentionally make a film that didn't have one good scene in it. And there isn't in that film.
Yeah, there is no redeeming.
Since you mentioned it, that new director's cut of the Star Trek: The Motion Picture is great. Really good. It director's cut rules, man.
And if you screw a film that badly the first time, why not keep trying? You know, it's
Okay.
it's-
All right. Let's just. And what we said. What do we? I don't know what we said. What do we think the Dial of Destiny is going to be, or what do we sort of need?
I think it's what we needed it to be. I need it to be an 8 for me to feel like, because I'm very clear about it. Crystal Skull is not a great Indiana Jones movie. If they're going to go back after that, whatever you want to call it, debacle or whatever, they better get it right. And I feel like they've got to stick the landing. If they're going to make 5,
it's got to be better than Temple of Doom.
Yeah, it's got to be better than Temple of Doom. And I love Temple
I
of
agree
Doom,
with the 8,
but I'm going to give it an 8.
Todd, what about you?
I can live with a 7.5. If they go out on that note, I'm totally fine with that. It just can't be. It can't be worse than Temple of Doom, and it can't be a complete turd like like I said. No.
We shall see soon enough.
We will see soon. I'm a little afraid.
No.
I'm going opening night, so hopefully I will not be spoiled.
I'm seeing it I'm seeing it Thursday.
Yeah, I'm seeing it the Thursday.
Yeah,
Opening night, first
I'll
night.
I'll get there that night. That is a parody of the other 3 films. Crystal Skull.
Are you still talking
I'm
about
telling you,
that?
I just can't like.
I wound him up, Dave.
I can't. Oh God, I just.
I agree with you. I mean, I hate it.
You know,
and we've watched this, and I don't know what number it is. We watched it with a live commentary on this podcast. Look it up, and you'll get more. You'll get 2 hours of us doing exactly what we've been doing for the past 10 minutes.
I will be stunned if there's any acknowledgement of that film in this one. I think there is, but I would be very surprised if there's.
I think there
Where
has
the
to
hell's? Where's Marion? Where's Mutt? What's going on?
You know, they're going to
She
do
was on the red carpet.
They're going to do the same. She
was on the red
They're going to
carpet.
do the same thing that they did with Sean Connery. There's just going to be a picture on the mantle of her next to Sean Connery, and that's going to be it.
Or when he's having drinks at the bar with his goddaughter, they'll toast to, you know.
Well, it's funny.
Mary
I
or
was just
something.
listening to another podcast that was talking about the John Hurt. John Hurt and the other dude, the 2 guys who have no use being in this movie. In theory, they wanted the father to be there, and then when Sean Connery wouldn't do it, they split that role up into those 2 convoluted people. I wonder if that would have been better, but we'll never know.
Oh, okay. I get that. That could make sense.
But it was that whole don't even. Okay, we can't get started.
Yeah, we need to wrap this up.
Okay, all right. So next week, I don't know. We'll do more movies. We'll probably talk about Strange New Worlds and
probably Secret Invasion.
Invasion, maybe.
Comes out this week.
And we'll wrap up this ridiculous movie list. Superhero movie.
This, yeah. And
It's almost over, people.
thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.